So it looks like the recording that I made just previously, um, well, it wasn't all recorded, the session that I played. So I'm going to load in now and just quickly summarize to the best of my memory what happened. I think that I only resolved maybe one or two turns. Um, so we will go back and look. So let's start out west. So it is early March. I haven't really done recruitment. And I believe that in the last video it was early February. So just a turn or two turns rather that were processed. So let's check this out. So in the west, Canby continues to move down and take him forever because now there's mud. Um, nothing much strategically has changed out in the west. We have built a supply depot here in Tucson, and we are in Pinos Altos as well, and we are building one currently in western Arizona via one of our decisions that allow us to build a depot without using a supply train. All right, out in North Dakota, as you might recall, we did have this garrison unit that was moving out from Oregon. I've since moved them from Fort Buford and along the river, along the Mississippi River to Leavenworth. It'll take them, 144 days to get there. Jesus. Okay. Nothing materially has changed in the west here. I decided that it would be Lyon and not Fremont who would attack Springfield, right? So in the previous in my previous thinking, I would have had Lyon stay back and defend Jefferson City and Rolla. Instead, I'm having Fremont do that, and I'm having Lyon make the attack. And I reorganized some of their forces so that Lyon's force was all regular U.S. infantry, and Fremont's force mostly still has conscripts that need to be upgraded by Halleck. Importantly, Franz Siegel has been spawned in, and he is our third and last training officer. So he and Halleck will be pumping out troops out here in St. Louis to deploy into Missouri as well as Cairo to assist Grant, and even in Kentucky to assist. Where's Thompson? There we go. Thomas. We moved General Grant from New Madrid up the river to Cairo, and he is consolidating his forces here in preparation to take Fort Henry and Donelson here. Shelby's force continues to sort of run around in Illinois. At one point, he was just sitting in Bureau, Illinois, and so we moved some troops out to displace him, and hopefully we can eliminate his force, and then bring this division under Howe, who I've split off, back to Grant's force. Okay, what else? This is actually kind of new to me right now. I'm seeing this stuff for the first time because I haven't. I think as soon as the turn ended, I sort of saved the game and I stopped playing. But we see here that John Pope is here. He is a new commander. Not too bad. I don't want him in control of an entire stack, but he may be a good division commander. Okay. General Thomas here, he's moved from Munfordville down to Barron, and it looks like the Confederates have been reinforcing forces in Bowling Green, and so once folks are able to coalesce here, I will move them across the river and attack these Confederate forces in Bowling Green. And of course, eventually, these forces will coalesce with General Grant's command and take Nashville. Right, Grant will come via the Tennessee River, and these forces will come across and have to make this crossing here. All right, let's continue. We've recruited a bunch of folks out here in Ohio and Indiana, primarily because prior to this turn, there was a sizable force with a combat power of I think around 600 sitting here in Ashland, and I was concerned that they would come out after the freeze thawed, right, and the campaign season began. I was afraid that they would sort of roll up and maybe even cut us off, um, you know, go up to Cleveland or something, and I not have enough forces to respond. And so I recruited a bunch of folks here with the intention of filling in this force here under Foster. But they have since moved out. I don't know where to. It looks like maybe here under Jackson's command, but there were a whole lot more forces than what I can see here. So I don't know where they are. At one point I thought maybe they floated downriver. I think this is the Ohio, but I don't see any Confederate boats here. So I don't know. Okay, West Virginia, nothing has changed. We have some more units here defending Union, but at some point I think that I will cross over and take back Morgantown and Clarksburg. Okay, McClellan is still Hooker's old guard. Cool. So this is a new unit that I haven't seen yet. McClellan is still here in Pittsburgh, training our forces up, slowly but surely. I've been sending them to this detachment here, sorry, to this force here in Ohio, but now that they don't need it anymore, I'm going to begin to send them back east. And then again in the Eastern Theater, we split up our forces into 3 separate commands under Fitzjohn Porter, Thomas Crittenden, yes, Thomas Crittenden, and then of course McDowell. They are defending Alexandria. There was an army here in Manassas with a combat power of, I think, 3,300. So that was a little concerning. But they moved somewhere, and I can't tell where now. And then we have Hamilton's force and Milroy's force up in Frederick. We moved from Alexandria, and we came around and captured Frederick. And we were thinking about moving them to Harper's Ferry. And honestly, I think that if I did that, they would easily take it. But it is the dead of winter. The weather is not cooperative, and the campaign season hasn't started. So I decided to not stretch them thin. I thought it would be better to just have them hold here. And once maybe April came around, we could cross over into the Shenandoah Valley and take Harper's Ferry again and apply pressure, right, on 2 fronts in the Eastern Theater. Nothing else has really happened up here. We're just still recruiting folks in the Northeast, waiting for these ships to sort of fill out. We did move our Navy from Hampton Roads to Annapolis so that they can recover, and they are doing that slowly but surely. Okay, and then I think the real big changes here are that we are continuing to raid with our Rangers on the eastern coast of the Confederacy. We did move a brig unit down here so that that would allow us to land sailors, which are marine, an actual infantry unit, to capture these towns here in Florida, and force the Confederacy to respond to us. And as you can see here, we've been able to successfully cut rail here, so they have to march folks from all parts of the South, and then stop in Liberty, Georgia, and then walk down to respond to our forces here. So it's advantageous to us to sort of be a distraction and force them to force the Confederacy to respond to our actions here. In the same vein, we had a number of partisans spawn across the South in, let's see, Alabama, Mississippi. This is Georgia. This is North Carolina. And you can we did that through our decisions here. There is an expanded decision pool cards, and we spawn them in, and we've been wreaking havoc. This partisan unit destroyed a whole town here. It was called Johnson. Completely gone, no longer here. And now we're moving down south to deeper into North Carolina. Our own little sort of march to the sea, I guess. The 2 years early. Um, what else? Yeah, and then we also ripped up the rail here. And so now that the Confederate forces, when they're trying to move from, let's say Alabama or Mississippi to Virginia, they have to do so via these other rails down here. And as you can see, I've been cutting them, right, with our Rangers. So it looks like the only way for them to move guys is, yeah, with this rail here, right? So coming from Montgomery, going up north to Atlanta, and then across to Augusta, and then up, maybe even to Charleston, and then up through Columbia, Florence, Darlington, Camden, and then Fayette, right? Up this way. If I'm able to cut something like here, then they will not be able to strategically redeploy troops from Virginia, to the west or vice versa. So that's our thinking here. But again, for these partisans, they've been amazing. They've been cutting rail, destroying supply depots that Confederates have down here. We landed another Marine force. Sailors. We landed sailors here, and they've captured Sparta. We landed them here in Milton because we have a navy here. This is Farragut's navy that dropped Butler off in New Orleans, and they've come back to Fort Pickens to recuperate their energy. And then we landed some sailors here in Milton. They captured it, and then we moved them to Sparta. They captured it, and now we'll figure out what we would do next. Maybe we go up and capture Camden. I don't know, but we haven't decided. In New Orleans, we landed a naval force here. They did capture Mississippi City at one point, but then they brought some troops here and expelled us. And now we've brought a transport so that we can pick them up and land them maybe somewhere on the Texas coast or something, just to sort of, again, pull forces from the front being along the border, right? And into these regions that don't really matter, right? But they have to respond to because we're here and we're raiding. These are raids. That's the way I think about it, at least. Now that a couple of I think maybe 3 turns have passed with these partisans, we are moving. We're attempting to move them back to our lines so that they can get supplies, and then once they do, we're gonna send them back out to wreak havoc. Okay, Butler remains in New Orleans. New Orleans is how do you say, loyalty went up to 75 because an event triggered, and that event was one of General Butler's events of of declaring nearly martial law in New Orleans. Prior to that, I think it was like a 30% loyalty to the Union. Earl Van Dorn is here. I would love for him to come attack. I doubt he will, though, and I'm quite tempted to attack him. That's a long ass time to get there. Wow. Okay. Anything else? I mean, nothing else has changed on the blockade front. We're still at 40% efficiency. Yeah. Okay. I think that's it. Only 2 turns have passed, but we are the goal here right now is to build up our forces and coalesce during the winter season, so that come spring and summer of 1862, we can go on the offensive. And that means capturing Bowling Green, and then Nashville. That means capturing Fort Henry and Donelson, potentially even going into Corinth, capturing Memphis here, challenging Vicksburg's control over the Mississippi, basically winning in the West, pushing deeply into the West along the Mississippi River. Once we take Nashville, the next strategic target is Chattanooga here, and then once we take Chattanooga, it becomes Atlanta, right? And then in the Missouri theater, we are going to capture Springfield and then Fayetteville, and then we're also uh, shipping some. Where are they? Here we are. Yes, here. We are shipping our horse artillery to Leavenworth and attaching them to these cavalry units so that they have more combat power, more hard power, and they're able to push Confederates away from these forts. So it's one arm here that's swinging down with cavalry and artillery, and the other arm swinging via Rolla under the command of Nathaniel Lyon through to Springfield and then again to Fayetteville. And then, this is the Red River, I believe. Or maybe this is the Red River. I don't know what this river is. Maybe the Missouri? I don't know. Eventually, we will come up against it, and I think we might float forces down to take Little Rock, or we might march overland and into North Texas. This is the Red River, I believe, here, right? And then taking Dallas, coming down and taking Galveston and Houston, which are important ports to take because it'll increase our blockade efficiency, right? Okay. And then in the east, sorry, not in the east, in the west, as soon as they can get here, we'll move. But it's taking a long, long time for them to move because of the muddy seasons out west. In the east, I think it remains a question of survival, of how we can get the Confederates to attack us like they did in prior episodes, and us to, again, attrit them down as much as we can. I do wonder whether or not we can go on the offensive, and if we do, it would mean taking Manassas and Stafford, and then our forces being buttressed by the Rappahannock River, right? And then Fredericksburg being on the other side of it, and us creating a defensive position here. And then, of course, along the Shenandoah, taking Harper's Ferry, Winchester, Strasburg, Newmarket, and then Staunton to sort of close out the Shenandoah campaign. Importantly, I think the most important thing is that we now are able to create core, and I will explain what that means in the next part. But that is another massive, importantly, an important thing to be able to do. It's a change. It's a change in the command structure of the Union armies that allow us to be more efficient, and for these commanders to efficiently command and control their armies, which means greater combat power, which means greater efficiency and less penalties. Okay, I think that's it. I'm going to stop there, and we will come back next time for playing out the campaigning season of 1862. All right.